Alex Carter stared at the red warning lights flashing across his control panel. His research ship, the Starbound Explorer, was dying around him. The engine had failed 3 hours ago when he flew too close to a strange gravity field. Now his oxygen was running low and the ship's power was almost gone. He pressed the emergency button one more time. "This is Dr. Alex Carter aboard the Starbound Explorer. My ship is broken and I need help. Anyone who can hear this, please help me." His voice echoed in the small cockpit. He knew no human ships were close enough to reach him in time. Alex was a scientist who studied alien life. He had spent 5 years traveling to distant planets looking for new forms of life. This trip was supposed to be his last mission before going home to Earth. Now it looked like he would never see home again. The air was getting thin. Alex felt dizzy and his hands shook as he tried to fix the broken systems. Nothing worked. The ship was too damaged. He sat back in his chair and closed his eyes. At least he had discovered 3 new types of space plants on his last mission. Maybe someone would find his research data someday. A loud beeping sound woke him up. Alex opened his eyes and saw a new light on his screen. Something was out there. Something big was moving toward his ship. Alex tried to focus his tired eyes on the screen. The shape looked strange, not like any human ship he knew. The alien ship was beautiful. It had smooth curves like a sea creature, with soft blue and green lights flowing across its surface. As it came closer, Alex could see it was much larger than his small research ship. The alien vessel moved with grace like it was swimming through space instead of flying. A voice came through his radio, speaking in a language he did not understand. The sounds were soft and musical, like water flowing over rocks. Alex tried to answer but could barely speak. His oxygen was almost gone. Inside the alien ship, Captain Nira Vel looked at the dying human vessel on her screen. She was tall and thin, with smooth blue-green skin and large dark eyes. Her people, the Kithera, looked like a mix between humans and dolphins. They could breathe both air and water, and they were known throughout their part of space for being peaceful and wise. "Captain, the creature inside is dying," said Dr. Mira Solon, the ship's doctor. "Its air supply is almost gone." Nira's younger brother Jorik stood at the engineering station. "Our orders say we should not contact unknown species. The Dominion might find out." Nira looked at the small ship again. Inside was a living being who would die if they did nothing. She thought about the Dominion, the evil empire that was slowly conquering every world in this part of space. The insect-like Havtar who ruled the Dominion killed or enslaved every species they met. If they found out the Kithera had helped an unknown alien, they might attack early. But Nira could not watch someone die when she had the power to save them. "Bring the creature aboard," she ordered. "Use the emergency rescue beam, sister. This could bring great danger to our people," Jorik warned. "And doing nothing could bring great shame to our souls," Nira replied. The blue beam from the Kithera ship wrapped around Alex's small vessel. He felt his ship being pulled gently into a larger space. Through his window, he saw he was inside a vast bay filled with soft blue light. The air around his ship shimmered, and he heard the hiss of fresh oxygen being pumped in. Tall figures in environmental suits approached his ship. They moved with fluid grace, and their suits had the same flowing lights as their ship. One of them opened Alex's ship door and reached out a hand to help him. Alex tried to stand but fell down. The alien caught him with surprising gentleness. Through the clear faceplate of the suit, Alex saw large, kind eyes and blue-green skin. The alien said something in that musical language, and even though Alex could not understand the words, the tone was clearly meant to comfort him. They carried Alex to a medical room that looked like an underwater garden. Plants grew from the walls and pools of clear water reflected soft lights. Dr. Mira Solon ran her scanner over Alex's body, amazed by what she found. "This creature is incredible," she told Captain Nira. "It can survive in many different environments. Its body can heal itself quickly, and its brain is very complex. I have never seen anything like it." Alex spent 3 days recovering in the medical bay. Slowly, he learned to communicate with his rescuers. The Kithera had translation devices that helped them understand each other. Alex learned that Captain Nira Vel had risked her career and possibly her people's safety to save him. During his recovery, Alex learned about the Kithera and their world, Aquanus. It was a beautiful planet covered mostly by warm oceans with floating cities and underwater farms. The Kithera had lived in peace for thousands of years, developing amazing medical technology and studying the secrets of life. But now they lived in fear. The Dominion was coming. Hive Lord Krax, the leader of the insect-like Havtar, had conquered dozens of worlds. He turned peaceful species into slaves or simply destroyed them. Intelligence reports said the Dominion would reach Kythera space in 6 months. "We are not warriors," Nira explained to Alex, as they stood in the ship's observation deck, looking out at the stars. "We know how to heal and build, but we do not know how to fight a war." Alex felt a deep sadness for these gentle beings who had saved his life. "My people know how to fight," he said quietly. "Humans have been warriors for thousands of years. We fight to protect what we love." Jorik joined them at the window. "But why would your people risk themselves for strangers? We are not even the same species." Alex looked at both of them. These aliens who had risked everything to save one dying human. "Because you saved me when you could have let me die. That makes you family. And humans always come back for family." Nira smiled, an expression that looked almost human despite her alien features. "Your people sound honorable. But the Dominion is very powerful. Even if your humans wanted to help, could they arrive in time?" "If you help me get home," Alex promised, "I will make sure they know what you did for me. Humans remember their debts, and we pay them back." The Kythera ship changed course toward the nearest human outpost. As they traveled through space, Alex shared stories of human history and culture with his new friends. He told them about human courage, about how his people had fought against impossible odds to protect their freedom and their friends. Deep down, though, Alex worried. Would his own people really risk a war to save an alien species they had never met? He had made a promise to the beings who saved his life. Now he had to find a way to keep it. 3 months later, Nira's ship arrived at New Haven, a human frontier colony on the edge of known space. The colonists and soldiers at the space station had never seen an alien ship before. Warning sirens blared as the strange vessel approached. "Unknown ship, this is New Haven Control," came the radio message. "Identify yourself immediately or we will open fire." Alex sat in the bridge of the Kythera ship, speaking into the communication device. "New Haven Control, this is Dr. Alex Carter. I am aboard a friendly alien vessel. Request permission to dock." There was a long silence. Then Alex Carter, "You were listed as missing and presumed dead 4 months ago. Transmit your identification codes." After Alex proved who he was, the Kythera ship was allowed to dock. Colonel Ryan Hayes, the commander of New Haven, met them at the airlock with a full squad of armed soldiers. The colonel was a big man with gray hair and suspicious eyes. "Dr. Carter, we need to talk," Colonel Hayes said, staring at Nira and her crew. "And your alien friends need to stay on their ship until we figure out what's going on." Alex spent 6 hours explaining his story to the colonel and his staff. He told them about the Kythera's rescue, their advanced medical technology, and the coming Dominion invasion. But most importantly, he told them about the debt humanity owed to these peaceful aliens. "Colonel, they saved my life when they could have left me to die," Alex said, his voice filled with emotion. "They risked their own safety to help a complete stranger. Now they need our help." Colonel Hayes rubbed his tired eyes. "Dr. Carter, I understand your gratitude, but I have orders to protect this colony and its 10,000 civilians. I can't authorize military action based on the word of aliens we just met." "Then contact Earth Command," Alex insisted. "Let them decide." Admiral Lisa Ward arrived at New Haven 2 weeks later aboard the heavy cruiser Vigilant. She was a stern woman with short black hair and cold blue eyes. Admiral Ward had fought in 3 border wars and did not trust easily. In the colony's main conference room, Alex made his case again. This time, Nira was allowed to attend via video link from her ship. She showed the human leaders footage of Dominion attacks on other worlds. The images were horrible. Cities burning, civilians being marched away in chains. Entire planets stripped of life. "The Dominion has destroyed 47 worlds in the past 5 years," Nira explained through the translator. "They will reach our space in 3 months, not 6. Our intelligence was wrong." Admiral Ward studied the footage with a cold expression. "This is tragic, but not our problem. Humanity has its own borders to defend. We cannot risk our people for aliens we know nothing about." Alex stood up angrily. "Admiral, these aliens saved my life." "Doesn't that mean anything?" "It means we owe them gratitude, not a war," Admiral Ward replied. "Earth fleet has 40,000 personnel and 200 ships. The Dominion has over 300 ships and unlimited soldiers. We would be crushed." Dr. Mira Solon, who had been listening quietly, activated another screen. "Perhaps this will change your minds," she said softly. The screen showed detailed medical scans and scientific data. This is what Kythera medicine can do for your people. The room fell silent as Dr. Elena Price, Earth's top scientist, studied the data. Her eyes grew wide as she read. "This is impossible," she whispered. "These medical techniques could extend human life by hundreds of years. Cancer, heart disease, aging itself, they can cure all of it." Admiral Ward frowned. "Are you saying these aliens have the secret to immortality?" "Not immortality," Dr. Price said excitedly. "But they can help humans live healthy lives for 300 or 400 years instead of 70 or 80. This technology could change everything." The debate reached Earth within days. In the Global Defense Council chambers, politicians argued loudly about humanity's response. Senator Bill Murphy, a small man with a loud voice, demanded isolation. "We cannot risk human lives for alien problems," he shouted. "Our duty is to our own species first." But Defense Secretary Kate Williams disagreed. "Senator, if we help the Kythera, we gain allies and technology that could benefit all humanity. If we abandon them, we show the galaxy that humans cannot be trusted." President Joe Martinez, a thoughtful man in his 60s, listened to both sides. He read Alex's detailed reports and watched the Dominion footage. But what convinced him was a private message from Alex that arrived that evening. "Mr. President," Alex said in the recorded message, "I know the political costs of helping the Kythera, but I was there when Captain Nira Vel chose to save a dying human, instead of following her orders. I saw Dr. Mira Solon work for days to heal me, even though she had never treated a human before. These beings showed me kindness when they had every reason to be afraid." Alex paused, looking directly into the camera. "Sir, if we abandon them now, we prove that human gratitude means nothing. But if we help them, we show the galaxy what humanity really stands for. We show them that we keep our promises." The president made his decision the next morning. He called an emergency session of Congress and made a speech that would be remembered for centuries. "My fellow humans," President Martinez said, standing at the podium in the House chamber. 3 months ago, an unknown alien species saved the life of one of our citizens. They asked for nothing in return. Now they face extinction from an evil empire that destroys everything in its path. The chamber was completely silent as the president continued. "Some say we should stay out of alien wars. Others say we should only help if we get something in return. I say we should help because it is the right thing to do. Because when someone saves one of ours, we save all of theirs." The president's next words would become famous across the galaxy. "Today, I am authorizing Operation Distant Shore, the largest military deployment in human history. We will travel to the Kythera homeworld, and we will stand with them against tyranny, because that is who we are. We are humans, and we do not abandon our friends." The vote was close, 278 to 257 in the House, 52 to 48 in the Senate, but it passed. Within hours, Admiral Susan Clark received orders to assemble the largest fleet humanity had ever sent into space. Back at New Haven, Alex received the news while sitting with Nira in her ship's garden room. When he told her what his people had decided, the Kythera captain's large eyes filled with tears. "Your people would truly risk war for us?" she asked in amazement. Alex smiled and took her webbed hand in his. "Nira, 3 months ago you risked everything to save one dying human. Now 47 ships and 15,000 humans are coming to save your entire people. That's how humans say thank you." Nira was quiet for a long time, looking out at the stars. Finally she spoke. "Alex Carter, your species is very different from ours. We are peaceful and cautious. You are bold and fierce, but perhaps that is exactly what the galaxy needs." As news of Operation Distant Shore spread across Earth, millions of humans watched the fleet assemble. Some protested, saying it was madness to fight for aliens. But others understood what President Martinez had seen, that this was about more than one species helping another. This was about what kind of people humans wanted to be. Admiral Clark's flagship, the Defiant, led the fleet toward Kythera space. Behind her came cruisers, destroyers, troop transports, and supply ships. It was a force large enough to conquer small empires, but they were not going to conquer. They were going to repay a debt. One alien had saved one human, and now humanity was coming to save them all. 6 weeks after leaving Earth, the human fleet arrived at Aquanus, the Kythera homeworld. The beautiful blue planet hung in space like a jewel, covered with vast oceans and floating cities that sparkled in the sunlight. But the beauty was overshadowed by the urgency of their mission. Admiral Susan Clark stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Defiant, watching as 47 human warships took positions around the planet. She was a veteran commander with 20 years of experience, but she had never led a fleet this large or faced stakes this high. "Admiral, we're receiving a communication from the Kythera Defense Council," reported Lieutenant Tony Barnes, the communications officer. On the main screen appeared General Zex Talon, the highest-ranking Kythera military leader. He looked much like Nera, but older and bearing the scars of previous battles. His large eyes showed both gratitude and worry. "Admiral Clark, welcome to Aquinas," General Talon said through the translator. "We are honored by your presence, but I must ask, are your people truly prepared for what is coming? The Dominion fleet numbers over 200 ships." Admiral Clark smiled grimly. "General, humans don't like to lose. We'll find a way to even the odds." The next day, a joint planning session was held aboard the Defiant. The conference room was filled with human and Kythera officers, creating a strange mix of human military uniforms and Kythera flowing robes. General Carl Davis, commander of the human Marines, sat across from General Talon. "The way I see it," General Davis said, pointing at a star map, "we need to hit the Dominion before they reach Aquinas, attack their staging areas and supply lines." General Talon's skin changed to a deeper blue color, which Alex had learned meant distress. "General Davis, such attacks would harm innocent civilians. Many Dominion worlds contain enslaved populations." Captain Luke Mason, a young and aggressive officer, leaned forward. "With respect, General, this is war. We need to target their industrial centers and communication hubs. Civilian casualties are unfortunate but unavoidable." The room fell silent. The Kythera officers looked shocked at Mason's words. Dr. Mira Solon, who was attending as a medical advisor, spoke quietly. "Captain Mason, to deliberately harm innocent beings goes against everything we believe. We cannot become like the Dominion to defeat them." Alex, who was serving as a cultural advisor, stood up. "Everyone, please listen. Both of our species have different ways of fighting, but we're on the same side. We need to find a strategy that uses both human strength and Kythera wisdom." Commander Nera Vell, who had been promoted after her rescue of Alex, suggested a compromise. "Perhaps we can combine our technologies instead of just our tactics. Human weapons with Kythera biotechnology could give us advantages the Dominion has never seen." Dr. Paul Grant, the fleet's chief scientist, became excited. "Commander Vell is right. Your bioships can heal themselves and adapt to different environments. If we add our weapons and shields to them, we could create something entirely new." The next 2 weeks saw incredible cooperation between the two species. Kythera engineers like Jorik Vell worked alongside human technicians to modify ship systems. The bioships received human plasma cannons and missile launchers, while human vessels were fitted with Kythera self-repair systems and medical bays. Commander Jake Phillips led joint training exercises in space around Aquinas. Human pilots learned to work with Kythera sensors that could detect enemies through stellar radiation, while Kythera pilots learned human attack formations and combat maneuvers. "The key is speed and surprise," Commander Phillips explained to a mixed group of pilots. "Kythera ships are faster and more agile. Human ships have heavier weapons and stronger armor. Together we can hit hard and avoid getting hit back." Dr. Mira Solon and Dr. Grant worked together in the Defiant science labs, developing new defensive technologies. Their greatest breakthrough came when they created biomechanical shields that could change their frequency to block different types of weapons. "It's amazing," Dr. Grant told Admiral Clark. "These shields can adapt in real time. Laser weapons, plasma cannons, even kinetic projectiles, the shields learn and adjust. But even with their new technologies, everyone knew they were still outnumbered 2-1. The Dominion had more ships, more soldiers, and more experience in conquest. Admiral Clark called a final strategy meeting as their intelligence reported the Dominion fleet would arrive in 3 days. "We have one advantage," Admiral Clark told the assembled officers. "The Dominion expects to find a peaceful species with limited military capability. They don't know about us and they don't know about our combined technologies." General Talon added, "Our plan must protect Aquinas while giving us the best chance of victory. We cannot allow the planet killers to get close enough to fire." The strategy they developed was complex and dangerous. The combined fleet would be divided into 3 groups. Admiral Clark would lead the main battle group, including most of the heavy human cruisers and half the Kythera bioships. General Davis would command a strike force of fast ships tasked with destroying the Dominion's planet-killer weapons. The third group, led by Commander Nira Vel, would protect Aquinas itself and coordinate the evacuation of civilians. As the meeting ended, Alex found himself standing with Admiral Clark on the bridge, looking out at the mixed fleet of human and Kythera ships. The sight was beautiful. Human vessels with their sharp angles and heavy armor floating alongside the graceful curves of bioships. "Doctor, do you think we can win?" Admiral Clark asked quietly. Alex thought about Nira's kindness when she saved his life, about the Kythera children he had seen playing in the floating cities below, about the human soldiers who had volunteered to travel across the galaxy to fight for strangers. "Admiral, I've learned something these past months. Humans fight best when we're fighting for something we believe in. The Kythera have given us something worth fighting for. They've shown us what real compassion looks like." The Admiral nodded. "And the Kythera are about to learn what human determination looks like when someone threatens our friends." On the planet below, millions of Kythera civilians were being evacuated to safer worlds. But many chose to stay and help with the war effort. Engineers like Dara Nix volunteered to maintain the bioships during battle. Teachers like Loom Ren organized supply lines and medical stations. The night before the expected battle, Alex visited Nira aboard her ship. They stood in her garden chamber, surrounded by the gentle sounds of flowing water and growing plants. "Alex, are you afraid?" Nira asked. Terrified, Alex admitted, but also proud. 6 months ago, you saved one human because it was the right thing to do. Now thousands of humans and Kythera are working together to save millions of lives. That's something worth being afraid for. Nira's skin glowed with the soft blue color that meant deep emotion. Your species has given us hope. Before you came, we thought we would face extinction alone. Now we face it with friends. Early detection systems suddenly blared warnings across all ships. The Dominion fleet had arrived early. Over 200 massive ships were emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the system, their dark hulls shaped like giant insects. At their center was the largest ship anyone had ever seen, Hive Lord Krax's personal flagship. Admiral Clark's voice echoed across all human and Kythera ships. "All vessels, this is Admiral Clark. Today we fight not just for Aquinas, but for the freedom of every peaceful species in the galaxy. Show them what happens when someone threatens our friends." The greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin. The Dominion fleet came out of hyperspace like a swarm of metal insects. Over 200 ships filled the space at the edge of the Aquinas system, their dark hulls reflecting no light. At the center of the formation sat the massive flagship of Hive Lord Krax, a ship so large it looked like a floating city of black metal and pulsing red lights. Admiral Clark watched the enemy fleet on her tactical display. Each Dominion ship was designed for one purpose: to destroy and conquer. Their weapons were built to crack open planets and burn cities. For 5 years, this fleet had swept across the galaxy, leaving only death behind. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Dominion flagship," reported Lieutenant Barnes. On the main screen appeared Hive Lord Krax himself. He was a nightmare made real, a 10-foot-tall insect creature with 6 arms, gleaming black armor, and eyes like burning coals. When he spoke, his voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "I am Hive Lord Krax, master of the Dominion fleet. You will surrender immediately and prepare for processing. Your species will serve the Dominion as slaves, or you will die. You have 1 hour to decide." Admiral Clark stepped forward, her face calm and determined. "This is Admiral Susan Clark of the Human Defense Fleet. Here's our answer." She made a cutting motion across her throat, and the transmission ended. "All ships, this is Admiral Clark," she announced across the fleet. "We didn't come here to surrender. We came here to fight, show them what human friendship looks like." The battle began with long-range missile strikes. Human cruisers like the Vigilant and the Thunderbolt, commanded by Captain Dan Torres and Commander Amy Foster, launched waves of nuclear-tipped missiles at the Dominion formation. The explosions lit up space like new stars, but the enemy ships kept coming. The Kythera bioships moved like schools of fish, using their incredible speed to dart in and out of the Dominion formation. Flight leader Corix led a squadron of biofighters in hit-and-run attacks that confused the rigid Dominion battle lines. "Their formations are breaking apart," reported Commander Jake Phillips from his fighter squadron. "The bioships are making them panic." But Hive Lord Krax was not worried. As the human and Kythera forces pressed their attack, He revealed his secret weapon. 3 massive ships, each twice the size of anything else in his fleet, moved to the front of the formation. They were planet killers, weapons designed to crack open worlds and harvest their cores. "Target the planet," Krax ordered in his metallic voice. "We will burn their world and feast on its remains." The planet killers began charging their main weapons. Energy readings climbed higher and higher as the massive guns prepared to fire. If those weapons reached full power, they could destroy Aquanus in a single shot. Admiral Clark saw the threat immediately. "General Davis, take your strike force and stop those planet killers. We'll cover you." General Davis led 20 of the fastest ships directly toward the Dominion Center. His force included destroyers, frigates, and Kythera bioships, anything that could move fast and hit hard. But to reach the planet killers, they would have to fly through the entire Dominion fleet. "All ships follow me," General Davis announced. "We're going right through the middle of them." The strike force dove into the heart of the enemy formation. Dominion ships fired from all sides, filling space with deadly energy beams and plasma bolts. Commander Sarah Blake's destroyer, the Ranger, took heavy damage but kept flying. Lieutenant Bobby Chen's bioship lost half its weapons but continued the attack. Meanwhile, the main battle raged across the entire system. Human heavy cruisers traded fire with Dominion battleships, their massive guns lighting up the darkness. Kythera bioships used their self-repair systems to heal damage in real time, surprising the enemy with their resilience. Alex stood on the bridge of the Defiant, using his knowledge of Kythera sensor technology to help coordinate the battle. "Admiral, the bioships are detecting enemy reinforcements coming through the asteroid field." "How many?" Admiral Clark asked, not taking her eyes off the tactical display. 50 more ships," Alex reported grimly. "We're now outnumbered 3-1. But the humans and Kythera fought on. Captain Luke Mason's cruiser, the Iron Will, destroyed 2 Dominion destroyers before taking fatal damage. As his ship exploded, Mason's last words were transmitted to the fleet. "Give them hell for me." The planet killers were almost ready to fire. Their massive weapons glowed with deadly energy, pointed directly at Aquanus. General Davis realized his strike force could not reach them in time through conventional attack. "All ships, this is Davis," he announced. "We're going to ram those planet killers. Set your nuclear charges for maximum yield." "Sir, that's suicide," protested Commander Blake. "Maybe," Davis replied. "But it's also victory. We didn't come here to go home. We came here to save our friends." 12 human and Kythera ships accelerated toward the planet killers at maximum speed, their nuclear weapons armed and ready. The Dominion tried to stop them, but the combined fleet's covering fire kept the enemy busy. As General Davis approached the largest planet killer, he thought about the Kythera children he had seen playing in Aquanus's floating cities. He thought about the courage it had taken for Nira to save a dying human stranger. He thought about what it meant to be human. "For humanity and the Kythera," Davis said quietly, and rammed his ship into the planet killer's main weapon. The explosion was visible from across the system. The planet killer broke apart in a massive fireball that took out 2 other Dominion ships. But General Davis and his crew were gone. Jorik Vel, Nira's younger brother, had joined the ramming attack in his bioship. As his vessel struck the second planet killer, he transmitted a final message to his sister. "Tell Alex his people are worthy friends." The destruction of the planet killers changed the course of the battle. Without their superweapons, the Dominion fleet lost its main advantage. But Hive Lord Krax was not finished. He ordered his personal guard to board and capture the Defiant. "If I cannot have this world, I will at least kill its defenders myself," Krax snarled. Dominion boarding pods smashed into the Defiant's hull. Insect warriors poured into the ship's corridors, fighting hand-to-hand with human marines. Alex found himself with a rifle in his hands, defending the bridge alongside Admiral Clark and her crew. The battle raged through the ship for an hour. Human marines fought with desperate courage against enemies that were bigger and stronger. But the humans had something the Dominion did not. They were fighting to protect their friends. Finally, Admiral Clark made a decision that would end the battle. She activated the Defiant self-destruct system and evacuated her crew to escape pods. "If Krax wants my ship, he can have it, along with enough nuclear fire to send him to hell." The Defiant exploded just as Hive Lord Krax reached the bridge. The destruction of their leader's flagship sent shockwaves through the Dominion fleet. Without their commander, the rigid hierarchy of the enemy forces collapsed into chaos. Commander Nira Vel, who had been defending Aquinas with the reserve fleet, led the final attack. The remaining human and Kythera ships struck the confused Dominion forces from all sides. Within 2 hours, the enemy fleet was scattered and retreating, but victory came at a terrible price. 31 human ships were destroyed, along with 23 Kythera vessels. Over 8,000 humans and 3,000 Kythera had died in the battle. General Davis, Jorik Vel, and thousands of others would never see home again. As the surviving ships regrouped around Aquinas, Alex stood in the observation deck of Nira's ship, looking out at the debris field that marked where heroes had fought and died. Nira joined him, her skin showing the deep blue of mourning. "Was it worth it?" she asked quietly. "So many died to save our world." Alex thought about her question for a long time. Then he pointed toward Aquinas, where the lights of the floating cities still shone in the darkness. "Nira, 6 months ago you saved one human because you believed every life had value. Today, thousands of humans in Kythera proved that some things are worth dying for. Your brother and General Davis and all the others, they died so that your children could live free." Nira was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Alex Carter, your species has taught us something important. Sometimes to preserve peace one must be willing to fight for it." Below them, Aquinas turned slowly in space, scarred by battle but still alive. The planet killers were destroyed. The Dominion fleet was scattered and freedom had won another day. But across the galaxy, news of the battle was spreading. Other enslaved species were learning that the Dominion could be beaten. The real victory was not just saving one world. It was proving that courage and friendship could defeat tyranny and hate. The galaxy would never be the same. 2 years had passed since the Battle of Aquinas, and the galaxy was a very different place. The news of the Dominion's defeat had spread like fire across the stars, reaching enslaved worlds and hidden colonies throughout known space. The impossible had happened. The mighty Dominion fleet had been broken by an alliance of humans and Kythera. Alex Carter stood on the observation deck of Harmony Point, the new joint space station orbiting halfway between Earth and Aquinas. Through the massive windows, he could see ships from a dozen different species docking and departing. The station was a symbol of hope, a place where free peoples could meet and plan their future together. Alex now held the title of Ambassador to the Galactic Liberation Front, but the Kythera had given him another name that meant more to him. They called him Tide Turner, the one who had changed the course of history. He wore the title with pride, knowing it represented not just his actions, but the courage of thousands who had fought for freedom. "Alex, the morning briefing is ready," said Commander Nira Vel, approaching with a data pad in her webbed hands. She now led the Kythera Diplomatic Corps, working to coordinate relief efforts for newly liberated worlds. In the station's main conference room, representatives from 37 different species gathered around a holographic display showing the current state of the galaxy. The map was colored in 3 shades: blue for liberated worlds, red for remaining Dominion territory, and yellow for worlds still fighting for freedom. "The liberation of the Zephyr system is complete," reported Captain Lisa Santos, now commanding the human cruiser Liberty. "The local Dominion garrison surrendered without a fight when they saw our combined fleet approaching." Dr. Mira Solon, who had established joint medical research facilities on 12 worlds, added her report. "The refugee situation is improving. Our new biomedical facilities can now treat injuries and diseases from 43 different species. The knowledge sharing between our peoples has saved millions of lives." Alex smiled as he looked around the room. 2 years ago, most of these species had never heard of humans or Kythera. Now they worked together as equals, sharing technology and resources to help others gain their freedom. The transformation had not been easy. After the Battle of Aquinas, rebellions had broken out across the Dominion Empire. Enslaved species that had served the Havtar for generations suddenly found the courage to fight back. But freedom always came with a price. "The Vorthan homeworld is still under siege," reported General Carl Davis Jr., the son of the hero who had died destroying the planet killers. "The remaining Dominion forces are using civilian shields to prevent orbital bombardment." Admiral Susan Clark, who had survived the destruction of the Defiant and now commanded the entire Liberation Fleet, studied the tactical display. "We'll need a ground assault. Volunteers only, this will be dangerous." 36 hands shot up around the room. Species that had been enemies for centuries now volunteered to fight side by side. It was exactly what Alex had hoped for when he first made his promise to Nira. After the briefing, Alex walked through the station's cultural district, where beings from across the galaxy had created a unique community. Human musicians like Tom Baker performed alongside Kithara singers, creating beautiful new forms of music. Artists from the recently liberated Centauri colonies painted murals celebrating freedom and friendship. He stopped at a small cafe run by Dara Nix, the Kithara engineer who had volunteered during the battle. She now served foods from 30 different worlds to anyone who needed a meal and a place to rest. "Alex, the usual?" Dara asked, her skin showing the warm golden color of happiness. "Please," Alex replied, sitting at his favorite table. Through the window he could see the memorial garden where sculptures honored those who had died for freedom. The largest memorial showed General Davis and Jorik Vel standing together, representing the sacrifice both species had made. A young human girl ran past the window, playing with a group of Kithara children. They were learning each other's languages and games, growing up together in a way their parents never could have imagined. Alex smiled, knowing that these children would build an even better future. "Excuse me, Ambassador Carter?" Alex turned to see a tall, gray-skinned alien with 4 arms and large purple eyes. She wore the simple robes of a refugee, but her bearing showed dignity despite her hardships. "I am Council Leader Vera Quinn of the Altarian Republic," she said formally. "Our world has been enslaved by the Dominion for 50 years. We have heard the stories of how you saved the Kythera, and how they saved you. We want to ask, would the Alliance help us win our freedom?" Alex stood and gestured for her to sit. "Council Leader Quinn, tell me about your people." For the next hour, Vera Quinn told Alex about her world, a planet of artists and scholars that had been turned into a factory for Dominion weapons. Millions of her people worked in terrible conditions, forced to build the very ships that enslaved other worlds. "We have planned a rebellion," she explained. "But we need ships and weapons. Most importantly, we need hope. When our people hear that others have fought the Dominion and won, they believe freedom is possible." Alex listened carefully, then called Nira over to join the conversation. Together they learned about Altarian culture and military capabilities. By the end of the meeting, they had agreed to help plan and support the liberation of yet another world. As Vera Quinn left to prepare for her journey home, Nira sat down beside Alex. "Do you ever wonder if we're doing the right thing? Every liberation means more fighting, more death." Alex thought about her question while watching the diverse crowd moving through the station. "Nira, do you remember what you told me when you saved my life? You said you couldn't watch someone die when you had the power to save them." "I remember," Nira replied. "Now we have the power to save entire worlds." Alex continued. "Yes, it means fighting. Yes, people die. But look around you. Look at the children playing together. Look at the species that were enemies learning to be friends. Look at the hope in Vera Quinn's eyes when she talks about freedom." Alex stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. 2 years ago, you saved one human. That act of kindness started something that has freed 47 worlds and given hope to millions of beings. If that's not worth fighting for, I don't know what is. News came that evening that the Altarian rebellion had begun ahead of schedule. Dominion reinforcements were moving toward their world, and the situation looked desperate. Admiral Clark immediately ordered the Liberation Fleet to prepare for departure. "How many ships can we send?" Alex asked. 67, Admiral Clark replied, "including vessels from 8 different species. The Zephyrians are sending their entire fleet to help people they've never met, just because we helped them first." The pattern had repeated dozens of times. Each liberated species chose to help liberate others, creating a growing wave of freedom that swept across the galaxy. The phrase, "they saved one human," had become a rallying cry for the oppressed. 3 months later, Alex stood in the Parliament building of Free Altair, watching as Council Leader Vera Quinn signed the treaty, admitting her world to the Galactic Liberation Alliance. She had tears in her large purple eyes as she spoke to the assembled crowd. "Today our children wake up free," she declared. "Free because strangers from distant stars chose to help us. Free because a human named Alex Carter kept a promise to an alien who saved his life. Free because we have learned that freedom is not something you keep for yourself. It is something you share with others." The crowd erupted in cheers, but Alex barely heard them. He was thinking about a conversation from 3 years earlier, when a dying human had promised that his people would not forget the kindness of 3 Kythera strangers. That evening, the celebration continued in the streets of Altair's capital city. Human soldiers danced with Kythera diplomats while newly freed Altarians sang songs of liberation. Children who had never known freedom played in streets that had once been patrolled by Dominion guards. Alex found himself standing with Admiral Clark on a balcony overlooking the celebration. "Admiral, do you think we'll ever defeat the Dominion completely?" Admiral Clark was quiet for a moment, watching the diverse crowd below. "Maybe, but I think we've already won the more important victory. We've proven that the galaxy doesn't have to be ruled by fear and hate. We've shown that different species can work together, trust each other, fight for each other." She turned to Alex with a slight smile. 3 years ago, you were a lonely scientist whose ship broke down in the middle of nowhere. Now you're the ambassador of the largest alliance in galactic history. That's quite a journey, Alex laughed. "Admiral, 3 years ago, 3 aliens risked their lives to save 1 dying human. Now thousands of species are working together to save the galaxy. I'd say we're all on quite a journey." The celebration continued long into the night, but Alex eventually returned to his quarters. Before going to sleep, he recorded his daily report for the Alliance Council. But tonight he added something personal. Personal log, Alex Carter, Ambassador to the Galactic Liberation Alliance. Today we welcomed our 48th member world to the Alliance. The Altarians are free, and their children will grow up knowing that the galaxy is full of friends, not just enemies.